here's a telephone, start making calls. And I'm like, to whom? Well, that's what the phone people say. Well, how are you able to ramp up your business that quickly? Well, because I focus on the niche. I'm not worried about all the deals I'm not getting. I'm more focused on the relationships I'm building, right? So,
all right. If you're a real estate agent and you're wondering what the next step can be, how can you be successful? How can you do 20, 30, maybe 40 years in the business? And I'm talking about a business. I'm not talking about just doing real estate, but creating a business, doing systems, and growing your influence in others. Well, today I have somebody that has done that for the last 37 years.
yeah, it'll be 38 in December.
38 in December. Mitch Schwartz, how you doing?
I'm doing really great. Thank you for asking, and thanks for having me.
No, my pleasure. I mean, it's a privilege to have you here. I mean, you're. I mean, I don't want to say you're an old school, but you're an OG.
I'm old school.
You're an
I'm
OG.
60. I'm old school.
No, but it's so funny because we were just talking right now. We were talking about how you're getting into that niche, right, of what you want to do. But before we get into that, first of all, if you want to tell them who you are, what are you doing, then we'll get into the questions right now.
Okay. Mitch Schwartz. I'm a senior focused real estate agent in Las Vegas and a coach with Coaching Nexus. And I've been doing this, like you said, December will be 37 years. I've sold 3,200 and it's either 57 or 58 houses. Wow. Like 10 years in a row, I almost did 200 units per year. And then I was a traveling coach for MAPS coaching for a long time, coaching a program called Bold across the country. I did that for 10 or 11 years. And I still travel and teach and travel and learn.
What inspired you to coach?
This real estate business has been really good for me.
Okay.
And I say that in all seriousness. In the first year, I did 0 transactions. I mean, nothing. I was broke AF. It was terrible.
38 years ago.
Yeah. And I was broke, and I went to the Association of Realtors. I got this cassette tape series, and it said, you can have anything you want. I want money. So I'm listening to it. In the very first tape, Zig Ziglar, the guy who produced this tape series, says, you'll help enough people get what they want, you'll always get what you need. And I realized that that's how I was opposite of my business. I was so focused on me and the commission and everything. And when I finally listened to that one phrase like 10 times in a row in the car, I thought, that's where I'm going wrong. I'm just focused on me. And once I did that, it switched everything.
So 38 years, going on 38 years, how different is real estate from where you started to now?
The only things that are different are the tools.
Okay.
People are the same.
Okay.
People are humans. They have their fears. They have their strengths, and that's not just in with my clients and the public, because I work with a very specific niche. But the clients have the same discomforts and challenges and all that. And the real estate agents are the same, right? There's real estate agents who are willing to do whatever it takes, and there's some real estate agents who expect it to show up on a silver platter.
And that happened all the time?
Yeah, that's never changed.
Okay.
So I would say the primary reason why I finally, I would say, became successful was I realized not only was it not about me, it dawned on me from the beginning that I needed to hustle. I was told, here's a telephone, start making calls. And I'm like, to whom? Well, that's what the phone book is for.
Right back then? The white pages.
Yeah. Just pick a page and start calling. Well, what should I say?
Those are
farm. How about do you want to sell your house? And that's what I did. And I knew that that's something that had to be done, but I actually was scared half out of my wits. I was 23, 24 years old. I went to work at a telemarketing company selling pens and pencils from 5 a.m. to 1 p.m. every day, Monday through Friday. Calling so I could get used to being on the phone.
Wow.
You just got to do what you got to do.
You got to do what you got to do. Exactly. Now, let me ask you this with the coaching. What is your intention when you were coaching? I don't know if you're still doing it, but I think you mentioned it.
I do.
Okay. Yep. So with coaching, what in your mind, what is the outcome you want to see in people?
I want people to be able to think bigger. I want people to operate it like a business. One of the things I've learned over my bazillion years in this business is that real estate agents tend to fall into one of two schools.
Okay.
They're either, hey, I'm this chick who sells real estate and that's what I do and it's fun and I drive a fancy bougie car and wear nice dresses and look cute and I sell a house here and there. Okay, that's okay if that's what makes you jam. But if you really want to have meaningful world, have a life worth living, it has to be operated like a business.
Yeah.
That means you have a start time and a stop time. That means you take days off, you take vacations. And I don't mean take a vacation where you're in Cancun and you're still taking phone calls. I mean take a vacation where you're on vacation. And so I like to help agents get there.
Okay.
And I think I brought a couple of books with me because these books have been instrumental in my world. And one of the things that I see that agents don't do is think about how they run their business, again, like a business. And it's because what they do is they don't think big enough, right? So in the one thing, Gary Keller, he says on page 93, Big Eyes, Thinking Big. Avoid incremental thinking that simply asks, what do I do next? This is at best the slow lane to success and at worst the off-ramp. Ask bigger questions. A good rule of thumb is to double down everywhere in your life. If your goal is 10, ask the question, how can I reach 20? Set a goal so far above what you want that you'll be building a plan to practically guarantees your original goal. Now, if you think in terms of what I just said about how agents don't think about this like a business, is because they're only thinking about their next transaction. They're not thinking about systems and models that they can follow that will get them systematically to where they need to be.
Yeah, the other day I was talking to Shekets, and Shekets been in the business for some time, and he talked about that specifically. He said that, the way he said is that, these young cats,
right?
They see real estate as, I'm just going to sell a house and, two and this and that, but they don't see this as a business.
Right.
This is a business that you have to build systems, that you have to, do all that and not just sell houses. And like you said, look up bougie, right?
Yeah.
So, it's funny that you mentioned, I'm going to bring this up, but so I was telling Mitch, I remember when, I was in real estate. I was managing real estate offices and managing systems and stuff like that because that's what I did before for a lot of the time in my real estate career. And this is one of the first books that I actually read. Okay,
that's a great book to start
regarding real estate. Jesse Herfel up in Phoenix actually introduced this book to me. He's part of the KW family up in Gilbert, Arizona. And that was actually the first book I read. And obviously, I love that book. I love everything about it. And it's funny that sometimes we're chasing things and we're trying to chase everything and we just don't catch anything, right?
Right. It's because you're too busy being in general.
Yeah.
Right. And the interesting thing about agents, again, because they're so not business minded.
Yeah.
They think they have to be all things to all people. And if we look at it from a perspective of why you want to make it a business and why you want to be purposeful is because it gives you the time to do the things that are most important.
Yeah.
So I've had agents in the past say, well, if I have too many systems or I operate like a business, it loses its appeal. It's not all, I really like the relationship part. And my argument is well, you know what? Everything that can be should be reduced to a system. So then I'm not spending time on it.
Yeah.
I'm spending time on the relationships. That's where I love the work that I do because the people I get to know and the lives I get to impact. But if I was busy trying to do all this other stuff and it wasn't a system that could be systematically replicated, I'd be busy doing this and I wouldn't have time for the relationship. It's like somebody says, oh, yeah, my family is really important to me. That's the number one reason why I do what I do. And then they go out to their kid's soccer game and they're on the phone the whole damn time. I'm sorry. Which one is it? Is it that your child is that important to you and you're going to be at the game and you're going to be bringing it, or are you really working? Just stay at the office. Your kid thinks that anyways.
Yeah.
But because they don't have a system, they can't do that.
So when you're coaching real estate agents, okay, and what is a common problem that they have about growing their business?
They think in scarcity.
Scarcity.
In other words, the scarcity mindset keeps them from doing the things that they could be doing, right?
Okay.
I'll give you an example. My business is really niche oriented. I mean, my real estate, and I still sell real estate. As a matter of fact, I took myself out of production for about 10 years. Traveling, coaching, and then became leadership in my office. And last May, I decided to go back full-time into real estate, and that's all I do is sales with the occasional coaching call. And I did, I don't know, between May 23rd and the end of the year, I did like 20 transactions. This year, I'm on track for about 36 to 40.
Okay.
Next year, I'll do 50. The next year will be 75. And I'll probably hover between the 75 and 100, depending upon my model. But anyways, a lot of people say, well, how are you able to ramp up your business that quickly? Well, because I focus on the niche. I'm not worried about all the deals I'm not getting. I'm more focused on the relationships I'm building, right? So I focus on seniors, estates, and probates. And if you're not a person who's like over 55, it's not like I'm going to tell you no. I'm going to think hard and fast about why it's relevant for me to help them when my knowledge base is older professionals, and I likely will refer them to somebody else.
Okay.
But agents think, oh my God, you're losing business, you're losing business. No, I get more business because I'm the expert in my field as opposed to being the generalist everywhere.
Yeah.
What is it they say? The jack of all trades, master of none. I am the master at single real estate.
You are. Now, what about how do you, with all this saying with AI and everything going on, obviously I got a comment the other day, somebody mentioned and said, well, AI will take care of all those issues with commission. Now, how do you think AI can implement business, or how can you grow business using AI, to people thinking that AI will replace your business?
Yeah, AI is never going to replace a human relationship.
Okay.
It just can't, at least not in my lifetime, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny because I have a couple of AI accounts. My primary one, ChatGTP, I actually named it Dave, like after the guy in a 2000 Space Odyssey. Yeah. But anyways, with that being said, AI is not going to replace real estate agents. It's agents who use AI to the maximum degree that are going to replace the agents who do not. So I just recently, I wish I'd brought it with me. I just showed up yesterday a book called the AI Driven or AI Focused Leader. Guy's name is Jeff Woods, and who wrote it. And the funny thing is, he was the guy who worked for Gary Keller promoting the One Thing and the One Thing coaching for years, and he's got this great book. I can't wait to read it because it's about how you can leverage AI to, again, systemize things. So if I was an agent and I was starting out and I maybe was doing 15 or 20 transactions, I'd probably go to my AI, pick one of the accounts, pay the $20 a month, and educate your AI about you and your business, which I probably spent 12 hours being interviewed by my AI. So seriously, to get my AI so Dave knows who I am and what my business is. So when we talk about what I need help with, he knows what, or it knows, or whatever you want to call it, knows what I want and what I need. So take the time to do that, and then look at what systems you don't have in your office and have your AI help you develop a system. So a great example for me would be my pre-listing packet. So right now I know just from being around the country that only about 5 or 6% of the agents out there send out a pre-listing packet. Okay,
that's
great.
very old school.
Well, because it separates everybody and it takes time, and people aren't willing to do it. So I went and educated my AI, and we talked about things that would be needed in my pre-listing book packet. And so what I have in it is, believe it or not, I have a series of mailing labels that are the 6 on a sheet, about that big, and they actually have names of rooms on them. I got a sheet of 6 that say living room, sheet of 6 that say primary bedroom, and I have them for all the rooms in the house. And I send that with the pre-listing packet so sellers can peel and stick on boxes and make their lives easier when they're packing up. Good. Well, my AI and I thought that would be important for my senior clients.
Yeah.
And guess what? They love it. Yeah. They absolutely love it. But that's how you use AI. Educate it.
It's very specific. Very also.
Oh, yeah. Well, the prompts are what is going to get the action. So educating the AI first, and then from time to time, I'll even say, so what else do you need to know? Should we have another interview? And I'm doing that because I always want the AI being educated. And then once you do that, figure out with the niche how to pull from your AI with the right prompts. Don't get me wrong. AI still helps me with email, still helps me with content for classes, still helps me if I'm struggling with finding the right question to ask a particular coaching client. And so it's AI is not going anywhere, but agents who don't use AI are going to go bye-bye.
Now, I'm sure you know, but we have a real estate school. And,
fantastic.
And we're seeing about 80 to 100 a month.
Oh, that's pretty strong.
Yeah, for the times. So new agents, we had new agents go into the market right after the crash. We had new agents go into the market right before COVID, right?
Oh, sure.
But now when you got all these different aspects of economics, creating a unpredictable market, and you got agents coming into this market, what will your recommendation be for those new agents going into a unpredictable market?
Well, find the predictability within the unpredictable market.
Okay.
So think about
Elaborate
that just
on
for a
that.
second. So what would be things that happen in people's lives that are unpredictable that are predictable?
Life-changing events.
Life-changing events, right?
Okay.
And there's a myriad of different life-changing
You talked
events.
about that. You focus on probates.
Seniors, estates, and probates. Those are all life events, right? There's people out there who focus on divorce. There's people on there who focus only on probate. There's people out there who focus only on seniors. There's people who focus, believe it or not, if I didn't focus on seniors, I probably would focus on people who are like families or people who have houses that have RV boat parking. That might not sound like a life event, but guess what? In times like this, there are still people making relatively good incomes, and they're going to invest in something like a boat or an RV. Well, I would be the master of what those are. So I would recommend real estate agents who are coming into this business figure out really what their laser focus is going to be. Don't necessarily strive to be all things to all people. Strive to be the best in your chosen niche.
Yeah.
And if you do that, then you don't hear all the other noise. And then you get to focus on what matters most.
And focus, right? That's
Focus.
all
It's laser focus. That's the beauty about the one thing.
Yeah.
Gary Keller even talks about it in A Millionaire Real Estate Agent and in the Shift book, believe it or not. And these are so you can have a focus within a different specific niche, and then you can still use some of the tools.
Yeah.
So in Shift on page, I think it's 71, Gary talks about the seventh level open house. Well, part of my methodology to build my database is an open house system that I've developed specifically to attract seller listings,
Okay.
not to get the buyer listings. Buyers are fine. They're going to show up, and that's great.
Yeah.
But because I choose to be a seller listing person, all of my transactions this year have been seller sides, except for one.
And speaking about that, is that something that you recommend? I know we always talk in our office, and I'm sure you guys do too, but focus and it goes back to focusing on what you want to do. Do you want to be a listing agent? Do you want to be a buyer's agent, right? And finding that difference, obviously we say what? If you take listings, you control the market.
100%. But
Right.
there's a lot of people who like to work the buyer sides. They feel it's more touchy-feely. For me, that's part of the reason why it's the turnoff, is I am...
The touchy feeling?
Yeah. I mean, I love being caring and all that stuff for my clients, but I don't feel the need to fake it when it comes to just anybody. So I've developed that. But I'll also say that, when I first got my real estate license, I was driving a motorcycle. And those of us who remember being back in business back then, you actually were expected to stick your buyer in your car and drive them around.
Well, I mean, when I got into business, we still do that, but
Not anymore, right? Well, how am I going to, all six of us ride in the back of my motorcycle? And I couldn't ask them to drive, so I literally forced myself to get good at becoming a listing agent and develop that that's what I like. But you got to ask yourself, where's your behavioral style? What is it? Are you better with systems? Are you better giving somebody advice that way? I like the sellers because they actually have something tangible.
Yeah.
It's something I get the market,
Of all the books you've read and thought, with agents and help them grow, which one would you say has been the most instrumental?
Well, instrumental, I would say The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, still to this day.
What is it for those that have not read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent? What is it about that book that?
Okay, so the great thing about this book, it's written as a business book, not necessarily as a real estate agent book. Gary Keller, who owns Keller Williams Realty, wrote it with Jay Papasan, and their focus, of course, is real estate agents because they're in the real estate business. But Gary specifically wrote this book. It is the best business book you can read because it's all about developing a database, a relationship. I mean, think in terms of a doctor. If a doctor is building their practice, they're building a group of people who see him as the authority in medical, right? Well, when he goes to sell his business, is he selling the equipment? No, he's selling the relationship that he has with those people.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we need to do as a agent, right? So I'd say that book probably had the biggest long-term effect for me. But then there's other books, and I actually see one on your shelf over here, Traction.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, by Gino Wickman. That book made a big impact for me on how I coach clients who are on teams or building teams or in partnerships. So that's a great book that made a huge impact on that part of my business.
Okay. And then getting into real estate now, a little bit. 2025, 2026.
Right.
Markets all whack, right?
Well, it's all whack because agents are allowing it to be whack.
Well, I mean, and then you got the media and you got all this thing that's getting in people's heads, right?
Yeah.
So what would you say the market will be for the next 6 months? What do you think is going to happen?
It's going to be tight. I think it's still going to be tight. The challenge is NAR says only like 6 or 7% of the agents in this country have sold a house or more this year.
Yeah.
And it's funny because when I hear that, I think to myself, well, that's weird because I'm on track to do, 36, 37. Why is it that I am instantly able to go out there and start producing business and agents are not? So if agents are going to sit around and hope that the business happens for them, it's going to be a real tough business for them. But if they're of the opinion that they got to hustle, they're going to make money. So I would say that if I had my prognosticator goggles on, it's going to be flat for probably the next 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
Until the rates get down somewhere closer to 6 consistently.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think we're going to get out of the 6 for next year. So.
Yeah. As long as we get down close to, maybe just under or just over, 6 1/8, 6 1/4, I think we'll be better than where we've been flying around right now. There's something about that number that shifts, but you know what? There's still people who need to buy and sell.
Yeah.
So, and there's still people who want to buy and sell. For them, the 6 1/2 or 6 3/4 is not frightening them because they've been doing it long enough. They know that you do it now, and then in a few years you refi. That's just normal. So, what I would say is, if I was an agent, either in this business and struggling, or getting into this business and not knowing what to do, I would adopt the philosophy of one of two things. I either have an appointment on my schedule, like where I'm going to be meeting with a potential buyer or a potential seller, or all the time on my schedule that I'm not doing that, I am looking for that. So in other words, if I have an appointment on Thursday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I know that I need to have 3 appointments a week to hit my goal, well, I'm short too, right?
Yeah.
So I need to be doing everything under the sun to find the other appointments so I can hit my goal.
Yeah.
But here's what happens is maybe they have that one appointment and they have one closing coming up, right? But because they're in scarcity, they coddle that one little closing. You've seen these agents, right? They get the one deal and they carry it around like a little baby egg.
And they just focus on
and focus on that.
Yeah.
And don't realize that it doesn't take 40 hours a week to manage a transaction. That's why a transaction coordinator can make a profit doing it at $500 at closing, because that part doesn't take a lot of time.
Yeah.
So instead of doing this coddling thing, say, okay, here, pay the $500 and let somebody do that stuff. It's going to get paid at closing anyways.
Yeah.
And then go out and spend every waking minute standing in front of Walmart and or Home Depot or Lowe's with flyers about the best rental flip property that that's available.
Yeah.
Be calling everybody in your database consistently and inviting them to something. Go knocking on doors. There's a guy that I coached about 12 years ago, and all he did was knock on 100 doors every single day.
Wow.
Within months, he had more business than he knew what to take care of, because people many times are open. And he said, can I stay in touch?
Yeah.
Here's some. And they said, sure. So he built his database. And so it started shifting from only 100 door knocks to then part of the time he was actually following up on those leads.
Yeah.
And eventually built a database of about 3,000 people. And now he's not knocking anymore. All he's doing is calling people up and building relationship with them, like Gary teaches us in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. So you need to be on appointments or finding ways to get them is really what it boils down to.
Mitch, you're very smart. I appreciate you being here. Obviously an honor. And
thanks.
Any last message you want to give to the audience? I know you do coaching, so if you want to
oh yeah, I mean, I do have a couple of slots open. Not a lot. The phone number to reach me at would be 702-303-0040. Feel free to reach out again. That's 702-303-0040. But beyond that, what I would say is find your niche. Like, really, what is it that you can do that excites you, gets you business, and really serves a community? And there's probably 200 or 300 different niche. Stop worrying about the business you're not going to get if you focus on the niche, and start getting excited about the business you will get if you do actually have a niche.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mitch Schwartz, Alfredo Rosales. See you guys in the next one. Show.